Welcome back to our program. I'm your host, Ray Guo. I'm going to go back to Mr. Ray Peng. I'm going to ask you about the status of the legislation regarding reconstruction and rebuilding following natural disasters in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
From the point of view of the NGO or the environmental groups,
yes,
we see some problems regarding this law.
Okay.
Because the law specifies if we want to reconstruction a village or a site,
okay,
and we can have the power, we can have the authority to implement the law of environmental impact analysis,
okay,
the law of national park,
okay,
and the law of zoning planning,
okay,
and the law of the maybe the law of the preservation of the lands,
okay,
mountain land.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can see the authority want to implement a lot of environmental laws.
Yes.
To they can have the more power of more space to do something.
Okay.
But it's a really it's very ridiculous because the Typhoon Morocco, the disaster of the Typhoon Morocco, because it's we can see some cause is from the environmental destruction.
Yes.
Yeah, but on
some of which is the tremendous amount of rainfall,
yeah,
in a very short period of time.
Yeah, it's because we don't have enough energy. We don't do enough to protect the environment.
Okay.
But when we want to rebuild, we also want to ignore the value of the environment.
Okay.
So
we're making the same mistake,
ridiculous.
essentially.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Okay. I'm going to turn to Lulu now. Lulu, we mentioned about the environmental trust, the project that you're responsible for. And would you then identify some of the natural habitats, in Taiwan that you would like to, see in the future be included under the protection of the environmental trust?
Actually, yeah, that's because under the environmental trust concept, we start a lot of work in habitat management, like the wetland in Yangmingshan National Park,
yes,
and the lagoon in south of Taiwan.
Yes.
But there's two places our major goal.
Okay.
One is I just mentioned,
yes,
in the mountain hills in east of Taiwan.
Okay.
And another place actually is two very beautiful remote small island in west of Taiwan that most people have never heard about that.
Okay.
It's called Dongyuping and Xiyuping.
Okay. But in terms of the trust that you have envisioned for the future, you must have a review board of something, right? You must have, maybe scholars or outside specialists who will be able to give you input, ideas about how to identify the lands, the habitat that you need to preserve. Have you thought about organizing something like this?
Actually,
yet?
In our organization, we already have a board member. Like they come from different area, like the professor in the academic research center, and also some specialists from the public enterprise. And now they are our backup, background. I mean, just support us to keep going to do the right thing. But actually, for now, it's hard to. When we really find a goal and to preserve, because most place not allow us to take step in properly. So actually, I think it's more like just if some chance come up and we just to take it and to really do a good job to try to preserve.
I have one final question before I let you off the hook. Where do you think you're going to raise the money financially to support the trust?
Actually, over the world, worldwide, actually, the environmental trust is a good chance to let everybody participate. So eventually, we hope that the trust can be supported by everybody. Even if all the people in Taiwan just donate $1, that would be so helpful.
Okay, but suppose I'm a rich man. I want to give you $1 billion, NT, to set up the trust, but you have to listen to me. Would you compromise?
Yeah,
You would?
Yeah, because I think trust is depend on the client and the trustee,
donor.
their
Okay.
commitment.
Okay.
So if you hope your $1 billion to spend environment, but we
Okay.
will follow in what you wish in spend environment, but it's definitely have to conserve environment, not damage the environment.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to turn to Ray now. Ray, tell us a little more about the eco holiday, project, eco working holiday project that you have with the association.
Yeah, the eco holiday, because why it's an idea and a model we learned from the in England.
Okay.
Because if we trust some land, we have to recruit some people to help us to maintain the habitat or the
Volunteers?
heritage.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's called volunteers, but they are not normal volunteers.
Okay.
They have to pay for their drinking and eating and
Okay.
their what they have done
They just
during their
volunteer
holiday.
their time,
Yeah.
right? And they also have to pay for their food and
Yes.
other things. Okay.
Yeah, and
good.
for the teacher to explain what the value of the nature to them. So the eco holiday is a good model running for many years in England and in Japan,
Okay.
and in maybe in Scotland.
It's not here in Taiwan.
In Taiwan, we just introduced this model in Taiwan for 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah,
How's
since
the
2005.
response?
We actually, the TEIA have some funding from maybe from the initial years. We have funding from the corporation buyer.
Okay.
Yeah, they help us to build this model.
Okay.
And they have to give us some money to run this project.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many volunteers do you have with the Eco Working Holiday Project?
Wow. Because the volunteers,
They come and go, or
Yeah.
fluctuates. Okay.
Yeah.
But mostly from Taiwan, or you have some international volunteers?
we have some international volunteers, especially from Japan and England.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
And they travel here just to work for a period like a week, 2 weeks?
Not so long.
Not so
maybe
long.
4
Just a few days. Or travel all the way from England to Taiwan for 4 days of volunteer work.
But they also have some times to travel around Taiwan. Maybe they can go
okay.
to Hualien or Taitung.
Okay. So putting volunteer work together with pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they travel their trip in Taiwan.
Okay. So that's been very successful in the last 4 years.
Yes.
Okay. And how about you, Lulu? At the same time, you have, also being involved in the project called Enterprise Volunteers. And can you tell us a little more about that?
I think as enterprise volunteers, idea is actually from the Eco Working Holiday.
Oh, okay.
Because
so it's a continuation.
Because in the beginning, Eco Working Holiday is open to all the public.
Okay.
So everybody just join us to have another different trip or travel.
Okay.
So they can really experience the story of the land.
Okay.
So after like 3-4 years, the enterprise think, it's a good opportunity to let our employee
Okay.
to join the Eco Working Holiday as a training.
Okay.
So employee can bonding with each other and in a good environmental and to experience the nature. So
Okay.
some enterprise call us say they hope to have a
come
whole
Yeah.
one Eco Working Holiday designed for land or
Okay.
only for land to join. So that's
Okay.
all.
Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah. As an editor-in-chief in environmental
association.
information.
Yeah.
I also want to call many people to join us to be a volunteer in
Okay.
the editing work.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
good.
because we have some volunteers, as I mentioned, we have some volunteers to help us to translate information from English to Chinese or
Okay.
from Japanese to Chinese.
Okay.
And we also have some volunteers to help us to re-edit some environmental report or environmental activity informations. Yeah, and they actually this model, this editing volunteers model running well for many years.
Okay.
And they also respond to us. They have learned a lot from this kind of participation.
Yes.
So I think this is a good opportunity to join us.
Precisely.
And to learn something from about the environmental protection.
Yeah, I think what is even more important is that these volunteer programs, whether it's for enterprises or for individuals, whether it's for Taiwanese or for foreigners, it also is a very important educational opportunity. For them to understand the kinds of work the association does, but also the state of environmental protection here in Taiwan. Do you find that, as the organizer of these volunteer projects, do you find that to be something more attractive and more important for your association in terms of long-term mission and objectives?
And so it's very important to us. So we have some course about the citizen reporter training programs. We this kind of program running well and responds well, and many people, I call this the student or volunteers, they can learn about any new idea about environmental.
Be creative, come up with new notions.
Yes, and they have some idea about what is biodiversity, what is renewable energy, and they also learn some reporting skills from the real reporter, and so they can help.
So they can also grow and expand their horizons.
Yeah, and they can report their life stories.
Okay, good. And we're going to take another break, and we'll be right back to the Taiwan Outlook, and we will continue to talk about the environmental protection issues here in Taiwan. We'll be back in 3 minutes.